The soft hum of an early summer evening promised a world of endless possibility, a gentle prelude to dreams and destinies interwoven. I once believed that every heart was destined to beat in tandem with another, that love was an unassailable fortress. But behind the gilded veneer of future plans and tender promises, fate had sown the seeds of a dark betrayal, one that would shatter my illusions and ignite a ruthless, calculated vengeance. I still remember the first time I saw Emily. It was an ordinary day with the kind of quiet beauty that belied the extraordinary soul I was about to encounter. I was in the middle of a bustling art gallery, one of those rare, intimate spaces, where the light filtered through stained glass, painting the walls with shifting hues of gold and blue. Amid the soft murmurs of the crowd, Emily stood by a window, her eyes transfixed on the world outside. There was a gentle radiance about her, a smile that seemed to hold both wisdom and warmth. I couldn't help but be drawn to her, as if the very essence of my being recognized a kindred spirit. Our first conversation was unplanned, a serendipitous exchange about the interplay of light and shadow in the paintings around us. We spoke of art, of dreams, and of the fleeting nature of beauty. In that moment, every word she uttered felt like a promise of a lifetime of shared adventures. We began dating, our love blossoming in quiet cafes, late-night walks under the city's neon glow, and whispered secrets in the secluded corners of urban parks. Every moment with her was an affirmation that the future was bright, that our love was something rare and unbreakable. The days turned into months, and with each passing sunrise, I wove a tapestry of dreams around us, a future filled with shared hopes, laughter, and the promise of forever. I began to see our lives intertwined as naturally as the roots of ancient trees. Her gentle manner and soft-spoken confidence made every challenge seem surmountable, every hurdle a minor detour on our journey toward bliss. Yet as time passed, the brilliance of our early days began to reveal subtle imperfections. At first, I noticed small details, a missed phone call here, a hurried goodbye there. It was as though the steady rhythm of our shared life had been infiltrated by offbeat notes that didn't quite harmonize with our love's melody. I began to sense changes in her routine, late-night calls that she would hastily dismiss with a vague, "It's nothing important," and unexplained absences that left me feeling isolated in a room full of memories. I told myself these were mere quirks of a busy life, fragments of an ever-evolving individual. But as the inconsistencies mounted, so did my unease. One rainy evening, after a long day at work, I returned home to find Emily's laptop still open, its screen filled with a cascade of notifications. The room, usually imbued with the comforting aroma of her favorite jasmine tea, now felt strangely cold and distant. I noticed a folder tucked away in a corner of her digital life, a folder whose innocuous name belied the weight of its contents. With trembling fingers, I clicked it open, unaware that within its confines lay the seeds of my impending undoing. Inside were hundreds of images and messages, each one a testament to a clandestine romance. The photos, intimate and indiscreet, revealed moments of passion shared with a man whose name I soon discovered was Victor. A colleague from her new job, he had seamlessly woven himself into the fabric of her daily life. The shock of betrayal crashed over me like a tidal wave, obliterating the foundation of trust that had been my sanctuary. Every pixel, every whispered conversation logged in digital memory confirmed what my heart had long feared. The love I believed to be unbreakable had been tarnished by deception. In the days that followed, I oscillated between numb disbelief and a simmering rage. I wandered through our shared apartment, now a stage set for heartbreak, absorbing every relic of what had once been a life of promise. Photographs of happier times, Emily's radiant smile during a summer picnic, the twinkle in her eyes as she recounted childhood adventures, seemed to mock me with their innocence. The juxtaposition of our past and her recent duplicity was too cruel to reconcile. Every room echoed with memories, each corner a silent witness to our shared dreams. In the kitchen, where we had spent countless mornings over coffee and quiet laughter, I now heard only the bitter sound of betrayal. In the living room, the space we had decorated together with hopes for the future, the silence was a piercing reminder of broken promises. I spent sleepless nights analyzing every conversation, every detail of her behavior, trying to pinpoint the moment when the subtle signs had escalated into full-blown treachery. In the solitude of the dark, I found myself questioning every smile, every touch that once felt so genuine. The man I thought I knew was slipping away into a labyrinth of lies, leaving behind a cold, hard reality I could neither ignore nor accept. Despair and anger warred within me, yet a quiet, methodical resolve began to crystallize amidst the chaos. I was not the type to wallow in self-pity. Instead, I chose to transform this pain into purpose. Every slight, every moment of deception would be meticulously documented and repaid in full. I vowed that no secret, no betrayal would ever be allowed, to destroy the dignity I had fought so hard to build. As the days melted into weeks, I embarked on a journey of quiet retribution. My grief was replaced by a relentless determination, a desire to expose the duplicity that had scarred my heart. I began to gather evidence with a precision that bordered on obsession. Every whisper, every digital trace left by Emily and Victor was carefully archived. I learned the art of digital sleuthing. Screenshots of explicit messages were taken, confidential emails saved, and even the hushed tone of their phone conversations was recorded with stealth and care. Late at night, when the world was wrapped in darkness, I became a silent observer of their secret lives. I installed discreet monitoring software on our shared devices, turning our once intimate space into a repository of incriminating evidence. Every laugh, every murmured conversation that would have once filled me with warmth now served as a bitter reminder of their betrayal. I meticulously organized the evidence in folders labeled with dates, times, and locations, each detail a small step toward a final, explosive reckoning. The precision of my actions was both clinical and cathartic. I felt as though I were reclaiming pieces of myself that had been stolen away by her lies. With every new piece of evidence, I pieced together the narrative of her infidelity, a narrative that would soon be laid bare before the world. It was during this dark period of self-imposed isolation that I began to see a side of myself I had never known, a steely resolve forged in the crucible of betrayal. The man who once reveled in shared laughter now moved with the cold precision of a tactician. I studied every nuance of human behavior, every digital breadcrumb left behind, and I prepared a plan that was as intricate as it was unyielding. Every moment of our past, every promise once spoken, was now fuel for a burning desire for justice. As preparations for the engagement party progressed, so too did the enormity of my secret plan. The engagement party was meant to be a lavish celebration of our future, a glittering affair attended by friends, family, and influential members of our community. It was to be the night where dreams and promises converged, a symbolic affirmation of the life I had once envisioned with Emily. Little did anyone know that beneath the glittering surface, a storm was gathering, one that would soon upend the fragile illusion of happiness. In the weeks leading up to the event, I carefully calibrated every detail. The venue was a grand hall adorned with crystal chandeliers and draped in luxurious fabrics. Flowers in brilliant hues of red and white were arranged with the precision of a painter's brushstrokes, each blossom echoing the sentiment of love and celebration. Yet, amid this orchestrated beauty, I planned my own unspeakable masterpiece, a montage that would expose every sordid secret, every instance of betrayal in a single, breathtaking moment. The days leading up to the party were a blur of preparations and rehearsals. I spent hours with an old friend who was an expert in digital editing, refining the montage until it was both undeniable and unassailable. Every image was meticulously chosen, every recorded whisper synchronized to create a narrative of deception so clear that even the most cynical observer would have no choice but to believe it. I memorized the exact moment when I would seize control of the audiovisual system, a moment that would forever change the course of our intertwined lives. Emotionally, I was a maelstrom of conflicting sentiments. There was a part of me that mourned, the loss of a love I had once cherished, yet another that reveled in the righteous fury of impending retribution. I knew that the night of the party would mark a turning point, a cathartic release of years of hidden pain. It was a moment that I had meticulously constructed, a moment where every hidden truth would burst forth in dazzling, unforgiving clarity. The night of the engagement party arrived with an air of electrifying anticipation. Guests mingled beneath opulent lighting, their laughter echoing against the high ceilings of the grand hall. Music filled the space, a symphony of joy and celebration that seemed to drown out the undercurrents of whispered secrets. I moved among the crowd with a mask of calm confidence, all the while knowing that beneath this veneer, every nerve in my body was alight with a dangerous resolve. Emily appeared, radiant, her smile a mirror of the facade she had so carefully constructed. For the evening, she played the role of the perfect fiancée, laughing with friends, sharing affectionate glances with family, and embracing the joy that the night was meant to embody. Yet, as I watched her from across the room, I couldn't help but see the faintest hint of a shadow, an echo of the secrets that had irrevocably altered our lives. As the evening progressed, the moment of reckoning drew near. I had been given a brief intermission during the program, a perfect opportunity to commandeer the audiovisual system. The room hushed in anticipation as I took my place behind the controls. With a cold, determined gaze, I initiated the montage, a sequence that unfolded with ruthless clarity, every frame a testament to betrayal. The screen flickered to life, and one by one, the damning pieces of evidence were laid bare for all to see. The intimate messages, the hidden photos, the secret phone calls, all were woven into a narrative that left no doubt about the truth. I watched as the joyful hum of conversation turned into a stunned silence. Emily's confident smile faltered, replaced by expressions of shock, horror, and an unmistakable terror. For a few agonizing minutes, the room existed in a suspended state, a place where every heart beat in a collective rhythm of disbelief and pain. The montage was more than a simple display of evidence. It was a masterful work of retribution. Each image and sound bite a carefully chosen instrument in my symphony of vengeance. I felt a perverse satisfaction as the weight of my actions settled over me. In that moment, I had reclaimed my dignity, restored my self-respect, and delivered a message that betrayal, no matter how hidden, would always be met with ruthless consequences. The silence that followed the montage was as heavy as the truth it conveyed. Guests struggled to process what they had witnessed. Whispers rippled through the crowd like a dark tide, each murmur carrying the shock of shattered illusions. The room, once a haven of celebration, had transformed into a stage for collective reckoning. Emily's eyes, wide with disbelief, darted from face to face, seeking help, forgiveness, an escape from the inevitable collapse of her carefully constructed life. I could see the internal struggle playing out on her face, the realization that every lie, every secret rendezvous had been laid bare for all to see. The woman who had once captivated me with her warmth was now reduced to a figure of public disgrace, a living reminder of the cost of betrayal. In the ensuing days, as the aftermath of the engagement party rippled through our social circles and the local media, I found myself grappling with the true nature of vengeance. The satisfaction of exposing her duplicity was undeniable, yet it was tempered by the heavy burden of loss. I had lost the dream of a shared future, the life we had planned together. And while the truth had been set free, it had also left me alone in a landscape scarred by regret and bitterness. In quiet moments, I would revisit every detail of that night, the steely determination in my eyes, the precise moment when the montage began, and the silent collective gasp of the room. I realized that vengeance, while momentarily gratifying, was a double-edged sword. It restored a sense of justice, yet it also irrevocably altered the course of my own life. In the weeks that followed, the community buzzed with talk of the engagement party. Some called it a necessary act of truth, while others whispered that I had stooped to the level of the betrayal itself. The media painted me as both a victim and a vigilante, a figure caught in the tragic interplay between love and retribution. I withdrew from public life, seeking solace in the quiet corners of a city that no longer held the promise it once did. I began to understand that healing was not a linear process. There were moments of clarity and resolve, followed by long nights of introspection and regret. I sought counsel in old journals and solitary walks along the riverbank, where the water's ceaseless flow reminded me that life, despite its heartbreaks, moved forward relentlessly. In the quiet solitude of those reflective moments, I realized that the revenge I had so meticulously executed was not a cure for the pain of betrayal. It was merely a stark, unyielding acknowledgement of the truth. With time, I came to accept that forgiveness was not a concession to the past, but rather a necessary step toward reclaiming my own future. I began to rebuild my life from the ruins, not by erasing the past, but by understanding it as a part of the person I was becoming. Time, they say, is a great healer. Yet the echoes of that fateful night continued to reverberate through my life. I often found myself wandering the spaces of our once shared home, now a repository of bittersweet memories and lingering regrets. Every object, every corner of that apartment told a story of love that once shone brightly and of betrayal that had cast a long, dark shadow. Late one evening, I sat alone in our old living room. The once vibrant photographs had faded, and the walls that had once witnessed laughter now bore silent scars. I took out a small notebook and began to write. A chronicle of pain and redemption. A memoir of a man who had experienced the extremes of love and loss. With each word, I confronted the ghost of my former self, acknowledging the vulnerability that had led me to trust too deeply, to love too fiercely. I also began to see that in exposing Emily's deceit, I had inadvertently unearthed a deeper truth about the nature of human imperfection. In our pursuit of perfection, whether in love, in friendship, or in life, we often set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. The mask of perfection is a fragile facade, one that crumbles in the face of truth. And so, as I wrote, I embraced the messy, painful reality of our human existence. Months turned into a year, and slowly, the relentless sting of betrayal began to dull into a quiet ache, a reminder of a chapter of life that had forever changed me. I emerged from the wreckage with a new understanding, that the pursuit of justice, while necessary, must eventually give way to the pursuit of self-healing and growth. I took to the city's streets with a renewed sense of purpose. The once isolated corridors of my heart now welcomed the possibility of genuine connections and new beginnings. I reconnected with old friends, ventured into creative pursuits, and even explored the possibility of new love, though cautiously, with a guarded heart that had learned to cherish truth above all else. There were nights when I would stand beneath the stars, their distant light a reminder that even in the darkest hours, hope could be found. I learned to appreciate the subtle beauty of imperfections, the raw, unfiltered moments that made life worth living. In this journey of rediscovery, I realized that the scars of betrayal, while permanent, did not have to define me. They were merely chapters in a larger story, one that still held the promise of redemption. Looking back on the tumultuous events that had forever altered my path, I understood that the pursuit of truth and justice was never a simple journey. There were no winners in the wake of such profound loss, only survivors tasked with forging meaning out of chaos. Emily's betrayal had not only shattered my dreams, but had also stripped away the illusions that once rendered life so beautifully simple. In exposing her duplicity, I had delivered a harsh message. That secrets, no matter how well hidden, would one day be unearthed. And yet, as I embraced the slow, painful process of healing, I also learned that revenge was a fleeting balm, a temporary salve for a wound that demanded time and introspection to truly heal. The man I had become in the wake of that night was one who had learned the harsh lessons of trust, betrayal, and the impermanence of perfection. But he was also one who had discovered the strength to rebuild, to forge a future where the scars of the past would serve as a reminder of resilience rather than a measure of defeat. As the sun rose on a new day, I vowed to honor the memory of what had been lost by living authentically and fiercely. The journey ahead was uncertain, and the pain of betrayal would forever linger at the edges of my soul. Yet in that uncertainty, I found a quiet beauty, a promise that life, despite its heartbreaks, was a canvas upon which hope and redemption could be painted anew.